Hello guys and welcome to Samantha's Kitchen. Today we are going to make Jamaican chicken curry, and for this it's quite a simple dish. We're going to do it actually in the slow cooker as well. Typically you would do it in a pot and cook it over time, but I found that the slow cooker works fine. So the vegetables that we'll be using for today are as follows. We're going to need a yellow pepper, we're going to need some garlic. We usually would have a Scotch bonnet, but we don't have that. We couldn't get any in this lockdown crazy world, so I'm using 2 chilies. We will need also about 1.5 inches of finely chopped ginger. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mince together 4 to 5 garlic cloves, 1.5 inches of garlic, and the onions and the chilies, and I'll come back when they're whizzed up. Okay, for the slow cooker you'll need about 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm using olive oil, and then I have whizzed up the contents, and I'm going to just put that in now. Mixture of garlic and chilies and the ginger. It smells absolutely delightful, really nice. This is a hot dish, there's no way of getting around that. It is a Jamaican hot dish. So, and then what I want you to do is use about half a cup of water. Water is required because it's a slow cooker dish. So we're just going to use the bowl and we're just going to empty the rest of that contents out, and just give that a good stir, and then we will put in our spices. Just before we put in our spices, I just wanted to show you a close-up of how really you need to break down each of the garlics and the gingers and the chilies. It needs to be very fine. With slow cookers you don't tend to get that breakdown that's the same as what you would with traditional cooking on a stove with gas or electricity. So so make sure you get it to this consistency, because this is going to be a basis for your sauce. Okay, for the spices, this is what we need. We need half a teaspoon of pepper, we need a teaspoon of sugar, we need 1.5 teaspoons of salt, teaspoon of oregano, teaspoon of thyme, teaspoon of cumin, half a teaspoon of turmeric, and then 4 teaspoons of hot Caribbean powder. So we'll put all this in now, making sure that we get everything in, and we'll give that a good stir, making sure that everything's coated. I generally make this into a spice already and have it in a jar. So all I need to do then is just get 4 teaspoons out, but for you I have mixed it today. Just show you now what it looks like with the spices. We'll now add the wet ingredients. So we add a vegetable stock cube. I'm just using a Knorr vegetable stock cube. The traditional ones because I'm making a vegan version, the traditional ones would ask for a chicken stock cube, a low sodium one. But we are using a vegetable stock cube, which will be fine. We'll need some white wine vinegar, and we'll need 2 teaspoons of this that we just put in, and then finally we will need some lemon juice, and I'm using half of a lemon, and I am just gonna squeeze this in. Really thoroughly making sure I've got everything in, and then we'll move on to our vegetables. I apologise, I forgot to add the all-purpose seasoning, to which you will be adding a teaspoon. If I can get it out the jar. Okay, now I'm going to add some tomato puree. I'm going to add a really good tablespoon and a half of tomato puree. Right then, so I've got my vegan chicken. There's roughly 320 grams here. It's frozen. I can just pop it straight in and let the slow cooker do its job and cook all day. I've also got a yellow pepper. I've got a whole yellow pepper and I've diced it pretty thick. I've got 3 or 4 chestnut mushrooms and I've got 5 small tomatoes, and that's just gonna all go in. So pour it all in and then give it a really good stir around, making sure you coat everything. I've got to say, it's smelling so nice already, and it's not even infused yet with all the herbs and spices and all the vegetables. Oh, it's going to be absolutely beautiful. It really is going to be amazing. Now there's 2 options here that you can do. If you're going to work and you want something really nice and hot and ready for a Friday night, you can add your coconut now, or you can do it later. It's a full tin of coconut milk. I'm going to add it now so I can show you how amazing, but coconut milk doesn't need a long time to cook. You don't have to pour it in. You can also pour it in with when you get home with half an hour to go before it's ready. I would suggest, if you're not putting your coconut milk in, to put another half a cup of water in though, because slow cookers do actually remove some of the water, and if you don't want things dry when you come home. So but for this time I'm going to put in the coconut milk. I am using a full tin of coconut milk, 400 mils, and we'll just pop that in straight away. I'm also going to put in a quarter cup of water from the in the tin, just so I can get every little last bit of this coconut milk in. It's really important to not waste anything, so we'll just make sure we can get everything out of there, and then we'll give that a good mix round, and then I'll show you a close-up of what it actually looks like. Okay, this is what it looks like, and we'll come back in about 8 hours and it should be perfect. Okay, while we wait for the delightful Jamaican curry to be ready, it's had about 4 hours in the slow cooker so far, so we're about halfway with that. I'm going to make some West Indian roti bread to go with it, and so for that I have put in 1.5 cups of self-raising flour. You'll then need a teaspoon of salt, which goes in, and you will need a tablespoon of oil. I'm using olive oil, which I'm going to add in. You'll need to keep this out because you will actually need to use a bit of oil for the frying pan, and you'll then need 3/4 of a cup of water. And if you just stir this in a little bit at a time, and we're going to form a dough with this. It's a very simple roti. It doesn't require to prove with yeast or anything like that, but they're really good. They're really good, and they go really nice with the Jamaican curry. So I'll carry on mixing this and I'll come back to you when we've got a dough. I have our dough here ready, and I've put a bit of flour down. I've had to use spelt flour because we have run out of the self-raising flour that you use, and as you can see, the flour is really nice and ready. So what you'll need is you'll need to break off about this much, and then we'll make our little flatbread rotis. And we'll put this to one side and I'll show you how I make them. So I pat them down like this while turning the flour, making sure that the bread that you're just about to roll out won't stick or anything. And then I just roll them. You can also flour your rolling pin if you want, but I generally don't need to flour them. But if you haven't got a lot of flour or anything like that, you can do it. And so what you want in is something about the thickness of an Indian roti style. And so here we are. None of my rotis ever come out round, so I won't be getting married anytime soon, as they say in as my friends say. Apparently when you can do round ones, you're ready to be married. So okay, and I'm going to make all these with the remainder of the flour, and then we will demonstrate how to cook one. So I have got out my rubbish pan, which is what I use for doing chapatis, rotis, anything like this, because it's not very good for your pans. So I have one that I make sure that I use for it. So put in a small bit of oil and then turn it up high. You need to get the oil quite hot. It's going to be difficult to hold the camera while I do this, but I'll try with the smaller one first, just so you can see what it's like. Okay, there was just no way I could use one hand and put in the roti, and so it's just getting to the point where it's hot, not sizzling hot, but it's just getting to that point whereby it's just getting to the right temperature to put the first one in. So you give it a couple of minutes on each side, and it's really important to keep turning it. Now you know the roti will be hard enough to move when that side of the flour is cooked through, but I'll show you at that point when you turn it. Okay, a bit of a close-up. So you can see the oil is bubbling away, and if I you can see that it's harder now to be able to move. So you want a little bit of brownness on that side. Don't worry about sticking, it won't stick. But as you can see, that side's just starting to cook away nicely now. I just want to say, when you're making rotis, this is plain rotis, and as you can see, the colour is just now coming on the roti. It's had about maybe 3 to 4 minutes on that side. The first one always seems to take longer because it just takes time for the frying pan to actually come to temperature. But these rotis can be made into anything you want. If you want to put in some crushed garlic, you can. If you want to put in some spinach, you can. If you want to put in both, you can. You want coriander and garlic, you can do that. All you need to do is mix it in, and then when you come to cook it, you will have the nicest rotis ever. So I'm just going to turn it over now, and let's see how it's going. So I think a few more minutes on this side. We'll just turn it around. Just a few more minutes on that side, and then I'll turn it over again. I have a bit of a production line going. This one's ready to go in, this one's ready for me to actually prepare, and then I have the main dough over there. It's easier to do it like this, because if you do them all, you can do them all like this, but you must you must cover it with a cloth in between each one, or they'll just stick. Okay, so first side's done. I've just turned it over. You can see it's got lovely golden brown. Really nice. And these can last for a couple of days. You can just pop them in the fridge, heat them up in the oven, so you can make a big batch, or they can go in the freezer, get a couple out every time you want them, so if you want to make a big batch, you can. Another tip as well, make sure you don't do it as thin as what a chapati would be. You've got to keep it reasonably thick for a roti, so it breaks like a roti. Chapatis are a lot thinner, they're a lot quicker to cook, and you use you should use a different flour for the chapatis. Okay, I just want to check how this is doing. So it's had about 5 hours now, and as you can see, oh my goodness, look at that. It is looking amazing. Oh wow, it smells just out of this world. Look at that. And it's so easy, it's so quick, and it's just so tasty. Okay, we have the finished product, and I'm just gonna get a little bit out with the roti so you can see what it looks like. Okay, get a bit of the chicken. Oh, look at that. And you can serve it with rice, and there is your roti. Enjoy. Beautiful.